Being famous for his furious nature and odd appearance, Bobby Portis, an American professional basketball player, was selected with the 22nd overall pick in the 2015 NBA Draft. Initially, he played his college basketball for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He was one of the top players in his Arkansas days and was the Player of the Year during his final and second season in 2015 at the University of Arkansas. He had a highly competitive nature while playing, with his eyes bulging out before he would make a big play, and he disliked losing in any game. Add to that his trash talking and heated arguments, and not hesitating to punch his fellow players in boiling temperament. That's what made him more famous than his entire career achievements. So you can clearly get an idea of how he treated his rivals on the basketball court. His mindset and his furious approach clearly depicts his background as a sensitive and struggling boy. In his childhood days, he was a crybaby and very kind. He used to cry after his team lost during his school days, and he would divide his burger among his hungry friends. Everyone still remembers him as Bob. The mentality with which he was raised always kept him fighting as the underdog. Even his coaches and trainers tell stories of his fights, and according to them, he had more fights while playing basketball than a lot of people in the area. His mother, Tina Edwards, had many jobs to support her 4 sons. When Bobby Portis was at school, his mother worked at a rental car company, as a customer service agent, a delivery girl for bread to local markets, and as a ground crew member at Clinton National Airport, just to give her boys a life full of basic necessities and comforts. Despite all the struggles and hard work, she hardly managed to earn a notable wage. When Portis was in middle school, he came to know one day that they were moving out somewhere due to being evicted from their current residency. This was the beginning of a series of moving to new places for several years. His mother was doing everything in her capacity, and him being the oldest one in his family, he had to be the man of his family. He never shared a good bond with his father. So, while growing up, everything was hard on him. A struggling, broken family, financial crisis, they kept moving to different places for residency. This is how he began to believe that it was him against the whole world. During his Little Rock High School days, in tough man drills, Bob and 3 other teammates had to box one another out, and whoever earned the point instantly would score against the triple team. And wild-eyed Bob went extra hard. Even before coaches blew the whistle, everything was legal for him, as no one had enough guts to fling elbows at Bobby Portis. His former trainers and coaches still laugh at this memory. Though in his entire basketball life, he had played with extreme passion, but somehow he had made a specific reputation due to his aggressive nature. Portis himself knew what people and coaches thought about him, as he used to listen to coaches and referees give him warnings to not play so physical before starting a game. Everyone simply perceived him as a bad guy, who's always ready for a mess in order to win a game. The same happened in one of his matches, which was unusual to many, as punching your teammates during a fight is definitely not common in the basketball world. Incidents like these rarely happen, but when they do, they never escape the headlines. In October 2017, Portis was playing for the Chicago Bulls, and during a Bulls summer camp practice session, he got into the most bizarre situation of his career when he punched his teammate Nikola Mirotic, which left Mirotic with 2 facial broken bones. Actually, Mirotic charged at him twice before Bob threw a punch at his face, which made him fall to the ground. Everyone stopped for a while on the court and stood stunned after watching this notorious incident. Though in that season the Bulls weren't doing the greatest for the entire season, this punch of Bob's was next level cringe. Both were trash-talking each other during practice sessions, and they ended up making headlines for their physical encounter. Mirotic had to take a break from sports as he was left with broken bones, a concussion, and facial lacerations. He underwent strict hospitalization to get treatments and was announced out of the practice shortly after entering. When Portis was asked to shed light on that ill-fated incident, he said he didn't intend to do that. He wanted to keep the focus on his future and him and his family. He was only thinking of improving himself for the betterment of the organization. But it's still a mystery to date what made him so furious that compelled him to make use of his fists. People are still curious about the incident. Portis started believing that he's not a well-liked guy in the league after that punching incident, but coaches and referees who witnessed the incident during the practice said Bobby was not at fault. On October 21st, Portis got suspended from the organization for the action. The Chicago Bulls suspended him for 8 games due to breaking 2 facial bones of Mirotic. There was no way to get out of the consequences for severely injuring Mirotic's face, though things were not one-sided, but he was the one who initiated physical abuse after the heated arguments. Portis owned up to his blunder and apologized to Mirotic 3 days after his suspension announcement. He publicly apologized for his action by accepting that he's guilty of this wrong action and wanted everyone to know he apologized to Nikola Mirotic. He said he felt like he had let his fans, the organization, and most importantly his teammates down. He said fans should not perceive him as a bad-tempered guy for this one wrong action. According to John Paxson, the Bulls' vice president, both players were equally involved in creating a fuss due to their escalated tempers, but only Portis threw the punch. Things went into a dangerous zone even more when Mirotic rejected his apology on October 26th, and he stated clearly that it's either him or Bobby who's going to stay in the organization. He said they both can't coexist on the same team with the Bulls, and he wouldn't mind if the organization preferred Portis to him. He was just not ready to forgive Bobby. He was even willing to sacrifice his contract of 2 years with the Bulls due to the bad blood between him and Portis. Mirotic had to stay off the court for many weeks due to his injury. On November 8th, after Portis made his debut in the next season against the Raptors and managed to earn 21 points and 13 rebounds, he was asked about his terms with Mirotic and his return. Portis said he didn't want to talk about the issue now, as the past must remain the past, but he stated that he and Mirotic hadn't talked to each other yet. Portis was more concerned about his play, and it seemed like he'd left that incident behind, but his fans were still curious about the secrets of the fight and what had actually happened between the two, which didn't come to the spotlight. Portis not only apologized publicly, but also reached out to Mirotic through text message, but Mirotic never replied. While giving their opinion of the incident, two of their teammates shared to the media that it's not Portis who was extending the mess, but rather Mirotic. They were not in support of Portis' wrong action, but after his apology, there was no need to prove him the villain in the eyes of the public. Mirotic came back to practice on November 13th, but he didn't talk to Portis. He was still committed to his trade demand and was willing to waive his no-trade clause. However, the Bulls wanted to get things sorted out between the two. In all this terrible mess, Portis was labeled as a furious, hot-headed player, a tag which he can't shake now. In February of 2018, Portis was attempting to block a shot when he delivered a hard foul on Thomas Satoransky, a Wizards point guard, on a drive to the rim, which made his future teammate crash to the floor and hit his head. It was a very dangerous play according to coaches, but when Portis was later traded to Washington, Thomas didn't say a single word about the incident, and even didn't hold any hard feelings or grudges towards Bobby. During the past 2 seasons, many incidents have happened on the court when Portis was called out for his aggressive approach. He had been called for 4 flagrant fouls. That was less than the whole Philadelphia team and Devin Booker, who was a guard for the Phoenix Suns. In one of his memorable plays, in which his notorious reputation preceded him again, was when he got a flagrant foul 1 charge after making unnecessary contact 2 times with his former teammate Lauri Markkanen's face when he was trying to defend his shot. According to Portis, it was unintentional. He shook his head and his downcast eyes fluttered like a ball while talking about the play. Portis said he just went for the ball. His intentions were not wrong at all. He said if he was someone else, like Lauri, he would not get the flagrant. It was not a dirty play at all. He looked frustrated because of the tag he got after the Mirotic incident, and his tweets clearly were showcasing the same thing. His looks and his little altercation with Mirotic gave him the label of a furiously hard player. And once you get that tag, the league is not going to remove it from you. No matter how hard you try, it remains the same. According to his close friends, his perception is reality. He's often underrated and overlooked for his achievements, but this mindset that he had kept in his entire career is his survival tactic. He continued with the same strategy of perceiving everyone around him as his opponent. That is what made him the best player and excel in his talent. That underdog from Little Rock left a strong impact on him that will never go away. Make sure to keep watching our videos. Check out the one that appears on your screen.